Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be providing an update to the bull market support band. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, as you guys know, every single week we do an update on where the bull market support band is. Not necessarily because we think we have to get above it any specific week, but just to keep an eye on where it is, because once we get above it, whenever that happens, then we have to start wondering if we can actually hold it as support. But right now, you can see that the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA both remain in a downtrend, and the 20-week SMA is now coming in at around 41.4K, and the 21-week EMA is at 42.4K. So more or less, it ranges from 41.4 to 42.4. This would be the line in the sand for us to get somewhat bullish. Now, remember, when we're below it, as we have been for a number of months, except for this brief pop above it over here, you're better off thinking of the bull market support band as a bear market resistance band, because on a lot of these pumps, we just immediately sell off whenever we go to that level. Occasionally, we might pop our head above it, but you can see that there was no follow through on this move like there was back over here in mid 2021. There was also a lot of follow through back in 2020 when we first came above it, right? We kept moving up and then we moved up again and then came back down and tested as support. But recently we haven't seen any follow through on the one move above the 20-week SMA that we even got. So until the market conditions, or I should say, until Bitcoin gets back above it and we see follow through, then I wouldn't get too optimistic about holding it as support. So we'll continue to assume it operates as a bear market resistance band until we actually definitively break through it. Okay. Now, remember, one of the things that we can do to sort of visualize this a little bit better is we can take the log of the price over the 20-week moving average. So this is the natural log of the price of Bitcoin, okay, the price of Bitcoin over the 20-week SMA, okay, so the 20-week. And when you do that, you get something that looks like this. Now, I'm color coding it green if it's either above the 20-week or above the 21-week EMA. So as long as it's above one of those, this is color coded green. And if it's below both of them, then it's color coded red. And you can see that, throughout Bitcoin's history, there's phases in the market where it's somewhat bearish. This one doesn't really count because the band didn't actually even exist back then. But you have these bullish phases, right? And they are characterized by long periods above the bull market support band. Okay, in the first half of 2019, or at least part of 2019, and then here in late 2020, early 2021, and then a brief period in late 2021 before going back below it. But you'll also see that there's phases where we go bearish for a while, and sometimes it can last for a few months. Sometimes it can last for upwards of a year. And you can see right now that we are in one of these bearish phases, right? I mean, like this phase over here looks more similar to, prior bear markets that we've had. Sometimes they've been short, sometimes they've been long, but it looks more similar to those than, say, a bull market. Okay, so what we need to look for, what we continue to look for, is will Bitcoin get back above these levels? And the thing is it eventually will. It's just a matter of time. I mean, again, we could go a lot lower before we actually get back above them. But it is an area that we need to continue to watch. For instance, when we fell below the 20-week SMA, it was actually over $50,000. So the 20-week SMA has dropped by about $10,000 since we actually first dropped below it back in late November. Okay, so it looks like, I mean, from my perspective, it seems like we're sort of getting squeezed here, right? Like if you look at the 20-week SMA and this dubiously drawn trend line that we've more or less been holding as support for a while, at least on the weekly time frame. And if you want to measure it from the wicks, you could do that as well. But arguably, the price of Bitcoin is getting squeezed between the 20-week SMA and this, dubiously drawn trend line. And at some point, we're going to have to break one way or the other, right? This is what's happened in the past. We're going to have to break one way or another. And when that happens, you need to be prepared for that. So, the last 5 weeks have actually been pretty bad. I know everyone keeps saying Bitcoin's holding up relatively well, But I hate to remind you that it's actually down about 20 to 21% over the last 5 weeks. I think compared to some equities like Netflix and whatnot, and Amazon after earnings, then perhaps it's good to have some Bitcoin in your portfolio to protect you from the downside volatility of stocks. But it still is down 21% over the last 5 weeks, so it's not holding up that great. Given over a relatively short period of time. I mean, like losing 20% in a month is a decent amount, right? It's a decent amount for us to go down. So it sort of begs the question: when's the last time we had 5 red weeks in a row for Bitcoin? And I mean, unless I miscounted, I believe the last time we had 5 reds in a row was back in late 2014. And back then, from that weekly open that led into those 5 in a row, I believe it actually was about a 30 to 30 or 31% drop or so. So this one, it was about a 20% drop. Back then, it was about a 30% drop. But do remember that things were a bit more volatile back then than they are today. So that was the last time we had 5 red weeks in a row. I mean, you'd really have to go back 8 years. And again, unless I miscounted. And another thing to consider is that I'm sure on some exchanges, the color coding of the weeks is different because they might have opened at a slightly higher or lower price, and then perhaps on some exchanges it might be green or red, even though it's not like that everywhere. But as far as I can tell, since late 2014 was the last time we had 5 reds in a row. Again, unless I missed something in here. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when's the last time we had 6 in a row. That might be something interesting to look up if we end up putting 6 in a row. But as you can see, Bitcoin has been putting in 5 red weekly candles in a row. We started off at around 46.8, 46.9K. And we've just been sort of slowly moving down here. Now that we're at the bottom, at least on the weekly time frame, you could argue that we're sort of at the bottom of this range. Perhaps we'll see some type of a bounce. But I do think there's a lot of uncertainty this week. Couple things. You have the Fed meeting. In a couple days, right? You have the Fed meeting, and I do think a lot of people are suspecting 50 basis points. So I mean, it's sort of like a pitiful thing to sort of hold on to, like what's the Fed going to do? But as I say, don't fight the Fed. And then you also have what was the S&P going to do? What is the Nasdaq going to do? The Nasdaq's already put in a lower low. The S&P is really flirting with potentially putting in a lower low. So if the S&P can bounce tomorrow on the open and we can start heading back up, I imagine that'll also be reflected in the price of Bitcoin. However, if the S&P puts in a lower low, it seems likely that Bitcoin would also break this uptrend that we've been in for the last several months. So I think that'll wrap it up for this video. So just keep an eye. I mean, again, the levels are 41.4 to 42.4. It's easy to get carried away and FOMO and whatnot when the prices start moving higher. But remember, it doesn't mean a thing if we can't get back above the bull market support band. And even if we get back above it, it still doesn't mean anything if we don't see follow through, usually, and then come back down to hold it as support. That's what usually gives us the confidence to ultimately move higher in a sustainable way. That's what happened back over here. I know we were a little bit more optimistic, than say 69K, but at least we did get a new all-time high. And usually after holding the support band, you do see a new all-time high eventually come. So it did happen. But again, you can't hold it as support as long as you remain below it. And again, as I said before, when you are below it, you're better off thinking of it as a bear market resistance band. All right, so that's the line in the sand for Bitcoin to get back above. For us to get back to that level this week, it would mean Bitcoin going up about 7% to about 10% to conquer both the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. So those are the lines in the sand to watch. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to check out Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. You'll get access to weekly reports and videos. We have a whole website with on-chain data, social statistics, logarithmic regression, price metrics, NFT data as well. Whole lot of stuff. We're building it out like crazy, so make sure you check it out, intothecryptoverse.com. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.